Hello, everyone. This is Tony Lawson, CEO and co-founder of SHOPPE BLACK. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Pierre Laguerre, the founder of Fleeting, a platform designed to connect companies with qualified and reliable CDL drivers. How are you doing today, Pierre?
I'm doing great, Tony. Pleasure to have me here. How about yourself?
I'm doing great also. Thanks for asking. So yeah, let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up driving trucks earlier in your career before you actually started a company related to it?
Yeah, for me, it was a way of escaping my reality in a sense. I came here from Haiti when I was about 15 years old. I came here with the dream of becoming a neurologist. And the picture that you have when you live in the Caribbean or third world country, they like to call them, when the way you view America, you see America as the land of opportunity. You see a big country, you see nothing but opportunity. But unfortunately, I always say where I landed when I came into New York, I landed on the right hand side of the apple, right? And that was in Brooklyn, East Flatbush in the early 97. And I'm talking about this when Brooklyn was really rough. I mean, the entire country was rough, period, but that time was really rough. And it was much more like cultural shock for me because the norm in that community was gang violence, gang banging, drug dealing, seeing young men that looked like me, getting killed at an early age, going to jail at an early age. So for me, I quickly realized, I said, there's no way I'm going to graduate here and become a neurologist. I have to find a way to escape this community. And after I graduated high school, my uncle took me on a cruise. And that cruise changed my entire perception of my community. And that's when I realized the world did not revolve around the community that I had lived in. The world had much better places to offer. So I did go to college, study electrical engineering, but financially, it was very hard going to school. It was my mom's and my fourth sibling when we came here. My dad wasn't around. So I'll make the ultimate decision to say, you know what, I got to get my CDL. I got to get up out of here. And finally got my CDL, became a truck driver and worked for XPO Logistics, which was one of the largest carriers today. I worked for them for about 3 years. Then went to work for Performance Food Group. Now, working for Performance is where I would say my entrepreneur journey really, really started because I started doing food deliveries in the same school that I was going to, right? And I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to be seen. And one day I ran into my professor. He said, Pierre, what's the matter, man? Why are you hiding?
Yeah.
I said, well, I dropped out of school to be a trucker. I'm delivering food here. I didn't want to look like a loser. He's like, loser? How much are you making a year? Well, at the time I was making $93K a year. And he said, well, look, Pierre, half of these kids are going to graduate and they're not going to see $93K a year. I want you to own it, be prideful, and be the best trucker you can be. And that message really resonated with me. A year later, I purchased my own truck and became an owner operator. An owner operator, that means you own your own truck. Our work is if you're a truck driver, you work for a company, you just show up to work, they give you the truck and the paperwork, you get the deliveries done and return the equipment. But when you're an owner operator, you own that equipment. You have to understand unit economics. You have to understand how to build a relationship. You have to know how to run a logistics business, period. And for me, I wasn't fully knowledgeable on running a business in trucking as of yet, but I was learning. I was failing a lot. But then again, I parked my truck up. There was this course that Wagner College had for supply chain logistics. So I parked my truck up after 6 months of purchasing my truck, took the course for Wagner College, which was supply chain logistics. But in that course, my takeaway from it was that it showed me trucking on a macro level, but I was much more eager to learn trucking on a micro level. So I went again to take another course to become a freight broker. And that freight broker course, that's when I realized how, brokers or the entire industry sometimes take advantage of truckers' ignorance. Because once again, truckers don't understand their unit economics. They don't understand how to build a relationship with shippers. They don't understand how to run their businesses efficiently. So they depend on freight brokers to do that for them. And of course, that come with a course. And that didn't resonate with me. And I said, you know what, something had to be, it had to be a better way. Like, there's no way this is how trucking is running. This is a big industry. But at the end of the day, it's like, you have certain part of the industry that's not incentivized to tell the truth. They're pretty much incentivized to keep everybody in the dark. And that didn't resonate with me. And that's when my real entrepreneur journey started. And I said, you know what? I think I can do a better job. I think I can bring some solution into this space. But before I even got into doing anything in trucking, I had got into a car accident. And I'm sorry if this is too long.
No.
I got into a car accident. And at the time I had left Brooklyn, got married, had a family in Jersey, living my best life as a truck driver, making good money. And I got into the car accident and I hurt my back. So I was out of work for about 11 months and I lost my car. My car got repo, going through a divorce, lost my home, lost my truck. Now I find myself right back in the same community that I had left, which is Brooklyn, because I had no choice but to move back. Now I find myself again in that same community asking myself, what am I going to do? You know, I have to get up out of here again. I was here before. And I read a book called What the CEO Wants You to Know. And my takeaway from that book was volume and profit margin. And I started thinking, okay, well, what is it that I can do? What is it that I can sell? Even if it's like 10 cents, if I could sell 1 million of them per month, I could make some money. Yep. But I wasn't that creative. I was thinking about buttons. I was thinking about zippers, going back to China, buying all those things. Just the creativity wasn't there. Mm-hmm. But one thing I saw was, since I was walking in New York and my car got repo, I saw all the restaurants, the beauty salons, the bars, the barbershop, and I was looking at those glass. I was like, well, who's cleaning those glass? Mm-hmm. I said, if I could get 100 stores to pay me $10 per glass, I said, I could make $1,000 a week. I started cleaning windows, right? So I went and told a friend about it. I said, hey, man, I'm thinking about starting this window cleaning business. And literally he looked at me and laughed. He was like, man, people are going to think you're a crackhead. I said, why you say that? He said, look around. There's nothing but crackhead that clean windows. He's like, haven't seen them? I was like, I said, you do have a point, right? But I was like, look, but right now I have no income coming in at all. I'm like dead broke. I said, I'd rather have some money and look like a crackhead than have nothing at all. You understand? And still look like a crackhead. Like, he said, well, you got a good point. He said, well, if you get 50 stores, I'll do it with you. And to be honest with you, Tony, I woke up the next morning, started knocking on every door on the stores. Hi, my name is Pierre. I have a service that specializes in glass cleaning. We'll do it for X, Y, and Z. And that same day, I think I had about 72 stores agree for me to clean their glass.
That day?
Home. Yeah, thank you. Huh?
That day?
Yeah, that same day. I mean, I started soliciting from 7 in the morning to about 1:30 in the morning, just knocking on doors. And when I got the list of the people that said yes, I went back home, borrowed $80 from my little sister, went to Home Depot, got me some bucket and got me some scrungy, and I was off to the races, started cleaning windows. Hold one second. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. Hold one second.
Okay. We're live, folks. Everything okay?
Yeah, everything okay. I'm not sure why she just started talking.
That's Siri or?
Yeah, serious. Yeah.
Oh boy.
She just went off. But yeah, so that same day, like I said, I had 72 store, went in and got $80 for my little sister, got me some brush, some scrungy, and I was off to the races, man, started cleaning windows. Now, same thing, when I was cleaning windows also, I was ashamed and embarrassed. I didn't want my peers to see me, the people from my community. So I was really hiding my face with a hoodie, with a hat, and just really kind of cleaning windows. But in 3 months, we made $62,000 cleaning glass, right? And when I was doing that, I was like, you know what, maybe this is a lot easier. I'm not going back to trucking. I'm going to turn this business into a multi-million-dollar business. I was lying to myself. Trucking kept on calling me. It kept on calling. It kept on calling. And I finally answered. I said, you know what if I apply the same scenario that I've applied for the window cleaning business? I said, well, trucking companies are always looking for great talent. And drivers is always looking for a company that can treat them like a human being, give them some level of flexibility, make them feel like part of a family. And I said, what if I apply the same thing and go into trucking with it, with the same stuff that I have learned from reading What the CEO Wants You to Know? Yeah. So I split up. I went and started my first trucking company in 2015, which was a staffing agency in trucking. Okay. And I started with the same thing. I said, you know what? I'm going to hire the drivers and I'm going to groom them and then outsource them back to the trucking companies. And little we know, I end up growing that company to about 2.5 million in revenue under 18 months. And I end up having a lot more drivers than I had places that I can place them. So I started to say to myself, I said, well, I'm a driver. I understand the space. Maybe I should just, start my own trucking company instead of sending my drivers to other trucking companies. Then I started another company, started with 3 trucks and scaled that business to about 26 trucks in the first year, and also did over $1 million in revenue with that business. But what was crazy was I was running 2 businesses simultaneously by myself, right? I didn't have a team. I couldn't delegate. I was the driver, the supervisor. On a staffing agency, I'm managing about 86 drivers. On a trucking side, and I'm managing about 28 drivers. This is a lot. We're talking about this is in trucking, that's a big operation. Yeah. But I remember crying every day, asking for God for help, because I seen the problem was just nobody here to solve the problem. And me as a driver myself, it resonated with me because I realized my problem just wasn't just my problem. That problem was problem that millions of drivers was going through every day, not having a quality time with our family, not eating the proper food on the road, You know, truckers are spending on average 250 nights away from home. And another thing is that trucking don't provide any upward mobility. Is, you know, you start as a driver, you die as a driver. And I didn't know that trucking was going to get this bad. And we're talking about in 2015. And now today, trucking is short 1 million drivers today because of those same reasons that I just talked about. Nobody wants to become a trucker. So for me, I saw that and I felt that I had a moral obligation, a moral duty to kind of bring the solution to market. And before I even got to do that again, I had a son that was born in 2017, and he was born with Down syndrome. And that really impacted my world. Everything just kind of felt like it was falling apart. I just felt somehow like God was punishing me. And I guess in my own head, that's what I felt. You know, it was hard to take. It was like, you know, why me, God? Like, why do I have to have a child, you know, with Down syndrome? As much good as I've done, like, you know, I've helped my peers, I've helped people in my community get their CDL and become truckers and feed their family. So it was hard for me to really accept that my son was going to be born with Down syndrome. When he finally was born, we found out that we had to go through multiple heart surgeries, right? Then he went into the first surgery around March. Then he went into the second surgery around May. While my son was in that second surgery, my mother came in town to visit from Orlando. So I stopped at this restaurant in Brooklyn to pick up some food for my mother. And I remember at the time I was running 2 companies. Financially, I was doing well for myself. I was driving a nice car. You know, I had a nice chain on, a nice watch. And I went to the wrong neighborhood to pick up some food for my mother. And from there, I was attacked from an attempt carjacking and robbery. And I had my skull cracked open. I mean, you can't see it. I have a titanium plate in my forehead. And there you can see there's a line that goes all the way from here to here. Crack, I mean, brutal. It's bad. Like, I mean, so now I find myself in a hospital fighting for my life, actually across the street where my son is at, fighting for his life. So I'm in Kings County. My son is in downstate. So now we're both fighting for our lives. And to be honest with you, Tony, if I tell you that I wasn't in pain, I didn't want to retaliate. I didn't want those people to feel my pain. I'll be lying. And that's all I was thinking about is like, okay, well, I'm going to make sure that these people pay for what they've done to me. I'm going to make sure that their mother feel my mother's pain or their sister feel their sister's pain. Then I don't know what happened after surgery. It was much like, I guess God probably smacked me across my head, right? It was like, what are you talking about? Retaliating and going to hurt these people. When I just woke up a different person, I was like, I told my friend, I said, no, we're not going to do nothing. Leave it alone. Everybody's looking at me like, wait, what? What do you mean? I said, no, we're not going to retaliate. Leave it alone. They said, man, they almost killed you. We almost didn't have you. I said, yeah, but if we go do something, maybe this time we'll be killed. Maybe I'll be killed, or maybe, you know, I'll be in jail. And it was hard for them to accept that. But for me, what I've realized was how, especially in our community as Black men, how we perpetrate the vicious cycle of violence in our community. And I felt like I had a duty to stop it with me, as opposed to just saying, hey, look, let me go pick up a gun, or let me go pick up a knife. Let me do anything crazy. I started thinking, I said, well, if I do anything, what am I solving? One, I'm losing the risk of losing my freedom, losing my life. My 3 children now will be growing up without a father in their lives. And I think that's when the social impact hit me and said, wow, I said, this is appalling that this country, you know, is short 1 million truck drivers. Meanwhile, there's young men and there's young women in certain communities looking for opportunities. They don't know which way to turn. Right. And I said, what if that brother would have came up to me and said, hey, man, what do you do for a living? You look clean. 9 out of 10, I probably would have said, hey, man, I own a trucking company. I can show you how to get a CDL, and I can show you how to own your trucking company as well. Yeah. But, you know, and once again, a lot of times from our community, which I can understand is, you know, if they don't have something, they see anything that remotely look like they have something, they'll just take it and leave you dead. And for me, I felt like I didn't want nobody else to go through that experience that I've experienced. And I said, you know what? I asked God, I said, God, I know everything's falling apart with my 2 businesses. I know I doubted you for, you know, having my son, but I said, God, if you get me out this hospital alive, I will build another company. I will add tech to bring a solution for marginalized communities and help them and get their CDL and become entrepreneurs just like I did. And also formerly incarcerated men and women. I said, I know they're always looking for opportunities. I said, how can I tap into this informally incarcerated market and show these young men and these young women, you know, how to obtain a CDL, how to become a truck driver, and eventually become a fleet owner, entrepreneur in trucking. And that was the pact that I made with God in the hospital. And I came out the hospital 14 days later and hit the ground running, trying to build fleeting. Wow. Now, I've seen fleeting because I've seen companies like Convoy, Transfix, they was raising millions of dollars, you know, to build their tech platform and logistics. But their platform was much more solving the shipper's problem or small carriers problem. It wasn't really speaking directly to the driver's challenges. So then I felt like I had a moral duty again to be the guy that bring the solution, to give drivers the ability to have better control of their schedule, to give the drivers the ability to have better control of their earning, and also at least give them some level of upward mobility so they can become entrepreneurs themselves. And that's how Freedom was born. Came out the hospital and just started hitting the ground running. And this is us here today. And to date, we've raised a total of $2.7 million, and also became the first Black man that raised over $1 million on a crowdfunding platform by SEC. I know this was a long story, but that's exactly what really inspired me now to truly build Fleeting, is the opportunities, is the lives that we can change in certain communities, and definitely the impact that we can have in our transportation industry.
Wow, I mean, you pretty much answered every single question that I had with that one response. Knocked them all out. Boom, 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 boom.
One shot.
One shot, one hitter quitter. Okay. Well, I mean, one thing that I am curious about is, so like, in your opinion, how has the trucking industry changed from when you started to where it is now? And like, where do you see it headed in terms of whether it's the tech, whether it's the, I mean, you did mention the lack of drivers, but is there any other thing that's changed in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely the industry has gotten worse from where it was at, 7 years ago, for multiple reasons, right? And I think if we look at our world today, right, everything what people don't understand is that everybody want work-life imbalance. Everybody is looking for gig economy. Everybody is looking for greater control of their schedule, right? And trucking is one industry that's still kind of, operating in the 20th century that don't have those flexibility components to it. So I think what's happening is a lot of drivers are leaving trucking to go drive Uber and Lyft because they give them that level of flexibility. They know what time they'll be home. They'll know that they'll be able to eat a good meal with their family. And I think that is creating a big problem in the transportation space. And then also we have, there's a lot of tech companies in the space, but I think what it also created that people's not realizing is that it creates app fatigue. Drivers are being, presented with so many different tools to use throughout the day, to kind of manage their businesses. And sometimes it's really not that efficient. So I think trucking has gotten worse from where it was 7 years ago. However, I do believe it's going to get better. And I believe technology will definitely make trucking better, because by leveraging tech, you can allow drivers or small trucking companies to make better decisions. You allow them to move more efficiently and where they can actually protect their bottom line. So I definitely believe technology is going to solve that problem, but this is not something that we see that's going to be solved overnight, right? I know people talk about autonomous. Autonomous may have solved something in trucking as well, right? Which is the long haul. But however, we still far away from autonomous because our infrastructure is not there yet to support autonomous vehicle. But then again, just imagine, are you ready to see a 80,000-pound vehicle on the road with no drivers in it, right? So those are the things that we're not ready to see yet. However, I am very hopeful. I'm very optimistic that, trucking is gonna be a lot better in the next couple of years. And I'm 100% confident that Fleeting will be responsible for changing the way trucking is, because our whole mission is not just talk about the challenges that exist, not just talk about the challenges the drivers go through, but for us is first, let's look at the root cause of the problem and how do we destigmatize trucking and make it more appealing for the next generation. And what I tell people all the time is that the generation of drivers that we have today is not going to be the next generation of drivers that we have tomorrow. So I think it's very important that we build not only for today's driver, but build for tomorrow's driver. And I can certainly tell you, tomorrow's driver is going to look for work-life imbalance and culture, and trucking does not provide that. So for us is how do we create that through technology to make it more appealing to start recruiting more talent in the space.
So what technology are you using right now that's solving some of those issues? And like, do you see yourself maybe implementing some more down the line that would do the same?
Yes, absolutely. So right now the technology we're using, so pretty much there's, I would say right now we're about 80% automated and still 20% manually, right? That's just trucking. And I don't think even with our platform, we're going to get to a point where we'll say we're 100% fully automated, because again, that supply chain logistics, you still need that human component, in operation. But I think for us, one thing that's really worked for us is one, our application process is very quick. Industry average, it take a company maybe about 15 days to hire and board a driver. With our technology, we're allowed to do that in 48 hours. We can really get the information quick and get the driver hired. Secondly is our driver scheduling. Traditional trucking companies that tell you, come to work Monday, we give you the paperwork, and you probably be gone on the road for 30, 40 days, not knowing when you're going to come back. For us, again, it's a bit different. The drivers kind of pretty much pre-schedule and tell us exactly how many days they're looking to work this week and how much they're looking to earn. So the driver have a say in where they go and how far they stay out on the road. And I think that's what we've seen a lot of success. It resonate with drivers because the drivers have the ability to say, okay, well, this week I want to make $2,000, right? And I want to, I want to be away from home from Monday through Friday. So by the driver giving us that information, the technology will allow us to make better decisions, to find a lane that makes sense for that driver to make that earning and also to be home in that time. And I think that's what's resonating with drivers with our platform.
And you also offer training, right? CDL training, is that correct?
So yeah, so that's an initiative that we're working on right now to launch the CDL training for formerly incarcerated men and women. Mm-hmm. But also there's 2 other CEOs in trucking that I've known myself that have been in this space for 20 years. And what we all 3 just decided to do recently is launch a company called Next Gen. And what Next Gen is actually hybrid virtual reality training that help anyone obtain their CDL permit in the comfort of their living room, right? After they obtain the permit, what we do is we're looking to pair them with existing drivers that own their own trucks for training. So we empower the existing drivers to become instructors. So now they can make side money on the weekend while they're training the next generation of truck drivers. So yeah, that's pretty much how we provide in the training for the marginalized communities and the formerly incarcerated men and women.
That's interesting. How do they make the money doing like the side by side with the actual driver? How do they make money there? Is it like they split something or they do like part-time driving with that person or?
As far as you talk about somebody that's in training?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so somebody that's in training, it usually costs about $7,000 for the individual to obtain a CDL permit. So how we're looking at it is, one, we're looking to partner up with a finance company that can help interested parties finance that course, the $7,000. Once they finance that, pretty much they have access to the portal to where they can start taking the training and the tests to get their permit. Just like getting a regular license, you have to do the written test first to get the permit and then go for the road test to get the license. So it's the same thing that applies in trucking. You have to study the book first, kind of, go through the general knowledge, air brakes and combination. And then once you have that, that means you have the permit. Once you have the permit, then you can now go to a trucking school and take some lessons, but you have to have the permit. So for us is, once the driver obtained the permit, we pair him with a driver that already have experience, a driver that have his own trucks already. So the thing is, for you to go through school training, sometimes you have to kind of like leave your home and go to Indiana and then go to different places for at least a week or 2 to get some training. So for us here, the driver don't have to leave his home. So pretty much he's doing the training through a VR, but when he's ready to get the hours in training, he's paired with a driver close to where he lives at. So that on a weekend, that driver can give him a few hours in training. And if you want to take him on the road as well, you take him on the road. The owner operator that own the truck, that driver is making at least 12 grand for the month, because it's pretty much, in a sense, it's $1,000 a week just to be training the driver, so he could train multiple drivers. So that, again, it helped the existing drivers to kind of, help their bottom line and also help the next generation of truckers. So now you have existing drivers training the next generation. It's pretty much passing the baton down.
Yeah, I like that. Mentor-mentee type of relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what's up. Okay, hey, look, Pierre, you're doing some great work. I'm very inspired by your company. I love companies that incorporate tech and innovation into like an old school industry that's been here forever and just improve on it. So that's definitely what you're doing, and you're doing some amazing stuff. Like, tell how can like our audience or our viewers like support you and your company, whether they're interested in trucking or they just want to, support you in any type of way they can. How can they do that?
Yeah, definitely. I think a great way to support with our business model is very interesting, because in a sense, our model is like the Airbnb for trucks, right? And traditionally, if you look at it, only trucking companies or large corporations are owning trucks, right? But for us, by even building this platform, what we realized is we pretty much created a new investment class in trucks. And what I mean by that is there's about 4 million truckers in the US, and 10% of those drivers have their own trucks, meaning they have greater control of their schedule, they have greater control of their earnings. So pretty much they're in a much better space than the 90% of drivers. The 90% of drivers, they have zero control of their schedule, zero control of their earning. They get told where to go. They don't care if your anniversary is tomorrow. That's not their problem. We need you to go on the road for 30 days.
Right.
And for us, what we realized, there's an informal market of people that was buying truck after the pandemic and trying to treat it as an investment vehicle. But the challenge that they was having was they couldn't keep drivers in it. They couldn't keep good freight on the truck. So that ended up a lot of them was losing on their investment. So for us, what we did, By creating the platform, we allow anyone that own a truck to register that truck into our platform. And once the truck is registered on the platform, the truck is now served as inventory. So when a driver comes to our platform, he can see a truck, a 2018 Freightliner available, and he can book that truck, whether he's booking it for 3 days or he's booking it for the entire week. So in a sense, the 90% of drivers get the ability to operate like an owner operator without the headache of owning the truck, without having 20 to 50K down payment to purchase a truck. And they don't have to worry about learning to run a logistics business efficiently, because our platform gives them all the tools that they need to run that business efficiently. So in a sense, we empowering existing drivers to operate like an owner operator and have better control, better earning, but without actually owning the truck. But who's owning the truck is the public, regular people like yourself that are buying trucks. So I think there's one way we're looking at it is this can really, really create a massive investment opportunities for people that's looking to diversify their portfolio. We started with about 3 trucks when we launched this model. We now up to about 22 trucks. We have a waiting list of 65 trucks. And we have another waiting list of 297 people ready to buy trucks to put on a platform. So I think if anyone can help, I would say this: look at trucking as a viable investment vehicle, because pretty much that's what we do. We manage everything from beginning to end. And we have truck investors netting about $6,000 to $7,000 per month on their trucks. And drivers are making on average about $7,500 per month as well. And us as a company, we take 15% of everything the truck do. So one way people can help is, one, let's really start looking at supply chain logistics as a viable option to kind of get into investment, especially in our communities, right? Because I'm looking at trucking just like a real estate, just like, people buy homes and put it on Airbnb. It's the same thing. People can buy trucks now, put it on our platform and receive a passive income on that truck. And I think the more truck we have, the better flexibility that we can create, the better service that we can provide to shipper and broker partners. And I think that will allow us to continue building a more cohesive ecosystem that promotes loyalty, that promotes trust, and gives drivers the tools and opportunity that they need to become entrepreneurs. So if anyone is really interested, you can reach out to me, check out our website, www.fleeting.us. So that's definitely ways that the public can help. And of course, we're always fundraising. So if anybody that knows any investors that may have an appetite for our business and what we're doing, I'd be more than happy to talk.
Great. Well, Pierre, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck with the business. You're doing great things, and keep being great.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Tony. You have a wonderful day as well, and keep doing great yourself. Thank you.
We appreciate that. Take care.
All right. Take care.